Hello everybody, we have made it to the end of the SPL. It is week numero 10. Week 10 here at the SPL, which is the final week leading up to DreamHack. We have 4 out of the 6 spots for North America and Europe wrapped up. There is a single spot left in both regions. We have Enemy and Soar qualified from North America, and we have Panthera and Paradigm qualified from Europe. Fighting in North America for that final spot is Eager, Denial, and LG. Fighting for the spot in Europe is mainly Cringe Crew and especially Hungry for More. So let's get right into it. Starting off the week with Enemy versus ALG. Should not be a super significant game. ALG wants them to guarantee themselves out of relegations if they win this set. Enemy wants this because they can help throw themselves towards first place. Better seeding, of course, for DreamHack. Enemy showing, I think, their not weakness as a team, but that they struggled a little bit against Denial. But then they came through, which shows that they have still that capability, even when behind, to get to where they're strongest, which is that team fight stage. Which is also where probably ALG is the weakest right now. Their early game, extremely strong. Denial was ahead of Enemy in the early game, and ALG was ahead of Denial in the early game. So I would expect ALG to get ahead in the early game, but I think Enemy's superior team fights will end up taking that set. Luminosity versus Soar. Really important set. Soar looking to possibly get over Enemy depending on the ALG set. LG needs the wins to get up into the top 3 for them to go to DreamHack. Huge, huge game right here. But honestly, I see this going 2-0 the way of Soar Gaming. They are a very, very strong team. I don't see it. LG has been to a whole lot of lands and they've pulled off a whole lot of stuff. So maybe they can do it, but I see this going 2-0 the way of Soar. Envy versus Eager. Best case scenario for LG and Denial, as you can see by the 14 and 10, we have 16 and 8. Best case scenario for Denial and LG here is Eager loses both games to Envy. But I don't think Envy will win another game this week. They have 2 sets this week, I believe, but I don't think they're going to win a set. This game goes to Eager, which should help them a lot to be the final spot here in North America. If not, guarantee them the spot, actually. Fnatic and Dig. Not too much writing on this. That should be 2-0 the way of Dig. I don't honestly know if Reels is back yet. Fnatic had not had Reels all last week, who went on vacation, who basically said, hey, this season's over. I'm going to dip for a while and just chill out. They had to forfeit a game last week because they could not field a roster due to Reels being gone. So they are having a very, very hard time right now. Paradigm versus Torpedo. Paradigm already guaranteed to go to DreamHack, and that should be a little bit of icing on the cake for them. Maybe they'll try out something a little bit different. Maybe something that we'll use later at DreamHack, but I can't imagine that going any other way than 2-0. A lot of these games this week looking to be pretty straightforward. Best game so far, by far, is going to be LG versus Soar, your game to watch out of your Thursday and Friday games. Finally, on Friday, we have Panthera versus Cringe Crew. Cringe Crew still looking for that 3rd place spot in Europe. Panthera, not slacking, but like definitely just kind of coasting a little bit comparatively to how hard they went at the start of the season. But I imagine they will take that 2-0 over Cringe Crew. Hungry for More. They're currently looking at 3rd place for Europe. Need these wins over Leftovers. Their games are a whole bunch easier, though. I have them going 2-0 over Leftovers. If they win this series 2-0 and Panthera beats Cringe Crew 2-0 here, that should pretty much put Hungry for More, I think, mathematically into 3rd place guaranteed, even if Cringe Crew wins their games as well against Torpedo Gaming. Which they should, though. Cringe Crew should beat them 2-0 against Torpedo Gaming, which means that these games are important here. If Hungry for More were to lose this 2-0, that could put a lot of pressure onto them. But Cringe Crew, strong team. Torpedo, going to be in the bottom with Fnatic, essentially. Nothing too crazy going on there. A lot of these games are pretty straightforward. As Hindu Man would say, free FP week. But I never say that because every time he says that, it's just a shit show. Actually, you know what? I'm supposed to lose this week. Free FP week. It's just so free. Thinking with my brain. Randozos versus Denial. At this point, I think Denial needed to win both games against Enemy Esports to give themselves towards that third place spot. In order for them to get third, Eager has to lose both games against Envy, which is just not going to happen. Denial, unfortunately, I don't believe will be making the LAN. They played a very strong split. They could still finish above LG, but I don't think they're going to be able to make it up to third place. The power is no longer in their hands. LG versus Denial. LG versus Denial. LG versus Envy. Should be a 2-0 win for Luminosity. To wrap them up, an Eager versus Denial should actually be a great set. So let's go. We have a great set to start us off on Thursday with LG versus Soar, and a great set to end us off with Eager versus Denial. This set is only crazy if Eager loses 2-0 to Envy. If for some reason Eager loses 2-0 to Envy, then all of a sudden this set becomes crazy. But because that's not going to happen, this set will mean literally nothing other than like ego for the most part. Eager a great team, Denial a great team. Honestly, I'm going to throw that a split. I think that both those teams have a great shot at that game. Finally, Panthera versus Leftovers. Ready, set. What do we do when we have Panthera on one of the sides? 3, 2, 1. We close our eyes and we pick Panthera. Woo! We did it. All right. So we also have some Oceania stuff going on down here. Honestly, guys, I don't know anything about Oceania other than Avant-Garde last year was a team at Worlds. Pandemonium is 2-0, so grats. Vote for them. Tainted Minds versus Insight are both 0 and 2. Go split. And LP and Deadweight go 2-0 Deadweight. That is how we're going to work that Oceania scene. We're going straight by the books right there. Straight by the books. So wrapping up our FP, Enemy over ALG, Soar over LG, Eager over Envy to finish out Thursday. Starting up Friday, Dig versus Fnatic, Paradigm over Torpedo, and Panthera over Cringe Crew. Moving on to Saturday, Cringe Crew over Torpedo, Hungry for More over Leftovers. Sunday, Denial over Randozos, LG over Envy. And wrapping up our Week 10 SPL is Eager and Denial split, and Panthera over Leftovers. OPL, Pandemonium, a split, and WWE Wrestling with a D and a W and an E instead of whatever I said. But that wraps up the picks, guys. Let me know down in the comments whether you agree or disagree with these picks and why and how you think that we did last week.